And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. As we told you at the start of the program, you do know, of course, the leaders of 44 African countries have signed a deal to create one of the world's largest free trade blocs, which is expected to come into force in 6 months after their respective parliaments ratify this deal. And joining us now to explain what this means for Kenya is Foreign Affairs and International Trade Cabinet Secretary. Is it Ambassador Doctor or Doctor Ambassador? Which order should it be?
Well, both of them are so it's okay. You're welcome. My title.
Welcome to the program, and congratulations on your appointment. So, Africa will be coming to Kenya in a new way, under a new economic regime, if you like. What is unique about Kenyans and their competitiveness that ensures we benefit from this deal that was signed?
And good evening, and a great opportunity to be here. Couldn't have been a better day, because yesterday we witnessed history in the making, and in many ways Africa had a date with its destiny yesterday.
Right.
Yes, 44 countries signed on the CFTA. We have been working on this over a period of almost 6 years, but really it is from the days of the Lagos Plan of Action 1991. So it is the culmination of our forefathers' dream of an integrated, a search for a prosperous Africa. And so the CFTA is supposed to be, as President Ramaphosa put it yesterday, supposed to be an ocean that carries all the vessels together. You know, we are supposed to prosper together as Africans. But more specifically to your question, you know, for example, we are known as a country of innovators and startups. And a lot of discussions that was going on was to look at how the digital platforms and ICT can actually help us to leapfrog as an African continent. And so there's going to be a lot of use of ICT and innovation to help us trade, to help us move trade and services across this continent. So by that alone, you know, we are put at a big advantage in terms of beginning to accrue benefits from the CFTA. But it's not just that. The small trade, what we call informal trade on the continent, amounts to between 40 and 60 billion US dollars. And so we are going to have our own small-scale traders, and you know we have very many of those across many sectors, able to cross borders, able to deliver goods and services across 55 countries.
Does the government have an estimation in terms of the number of Kenyans who are even, you know, economically or, you know, in terms of their business in a position to be able to migrate? Are there plans to help those who are looking to expand into the rest of the continent?
There's a lot of discussions going on. Tomorrow, there's going to be the East African Business Council in session the whole day, and at the end of that you're going to be seeing the best performing SMEs receiving an award from this Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Will be giving this award tomorrow night. So there's a whole series of opportunities across, whether it is agro-processing, whether it is small industries, whether it is a whole service provisions, whether it is business facilitation, you know, creation of cooperatives. Is a whole series of opportunities here that are available to Kenya. And because this is not new to us, the issue for Kenyans is going to be a matter of scaling up rather than starting. It is taking those small scale enterprises to become medium scale, to become large scale, because the demand is huge. We are having a market of 1.2 billion for us to play with.
And so, just to be very clear, so a Kenyan who's looking at their business and saying, okay, I could sell my goods, services abroad, would they then liaise with your office? How would you recommend that they go about
that? They would. The Chamber of Commerce is there, and there's a lot of discussions between the business people. In fact, one of the sessions preceding the CFTA Heads of State session was a business forum. And we had businesses from across Africa talking about the areas, talking about the platforms to be used, talking about availability of funds. Afri-Exim Bank was there, and it is liaising with a number of commercial banks across the continent to provide for facilities for traders across the continent.
Okay. In many ways, our own people have not fully realized the Kenyan dream. Many still don't have the right access to capital. They don't have land. Many don't have jobs. 36% of us are still living below the poverty line. yet here is Africa arriving to opportunities that our own people have not really experienced here at home. What do you say to those who are concerned in terms of our economic policy and whether it is pro this 36%?
Africa is arriving to Kenyan shores, but Kenya is arriving in 54 African countries too. So it is not, in fact, I think the fear that is expressed by some people is misguided. Where countries have opened up, like in Mauritius, like even our neighboring Rwanda, we have not seen a flood of people. There are no flood of people. People follow opportunities, and those opportunities are determined by the competitiveness of the people. Now we are having a population, it is young. We have to create 1 million jobs a year. Here is a platform where part of those jobs can be funded out to African countries. So really, it's not just about Africans, people, other people coming to us. It's also the opportunity for us to push our competitiveness into the continent.
What do you say about the concerns countries, you know, the largest economies on the continent have had, Nigeria, South Africa, not signing on? You know, an observer would say if they're concerned about their economies weakening, shouldn't we?
No, in fact, that is not the worry of either South Africa or Nigeria. And by the way, in Kigali, we also signed the Kigali Declaration, which was signed by everybody that came through, 47 countries, and including South Africa and Nigeria. The reason South Africa hasn't signed on is because within their legal system, they are required to process those documents before they can sign them off. So it's a matter of processing rather than a matter of not doing so. And I can tell you, there was no objection, there was no reservation, not on any article, not on any document. Not by South Africa, not by Nigeria. And on the Nigerian side, they explained to us that they needed to do some consultation, including with their trade unions and other persons. So
you're confident
there is no, they will. I can bet you they will.
Are there regulations in terms of controlling the migration and protecting local jobs? Is that something you're working on?
One of the other documents that was signed off yesterday is the protocol on the free movement of people, because we understand that you cannot grow prosperity just by, in fact, you cannot trade in goods or services without people moving. So one of the protocols that has been negotiated for a while now is the free movement of people across the continent. You will know that we have an African passport that is going to be rolled out to facilitate this movement. You will know we have signed on a Free Skies agreement to enable us to move together, and we also have infrastructural projects that are supposed to be connecting the continent to help us move our people, our goods, and our services.
And that is happening, I mean, in this current dispensation where we're seeing a lot of, you know, conflict still erupting, unfortunately, in our region, Burundi, South Sudan, Somalia yet to be stabilized, Al-Shabaab threat yet to be completely neutralized, Ethiopia, etc. Where does that leave, if you like, the integrity of our borders? Well,
it is true we are living in a fragile region, but that is even the more reason why we must work for restoring peace so that we can move on with this agenda of expanding our trade and growing our prosperity together.
This deal should see the removal of most tariffs and barriers to trade. Yes. Can we fully expect good success when the lesson from the implementation of the EAC, Common Market, etc., has been that people may sign on paper, but the way governments implement it is not necessarily corresponding with the letter of the deal? We've had Kenyan traders, you know, continuously harassed at various borders when there is a standing agreement. How can we expect that this would be any different?
Well, one of the mechanisms that has also been agreed upon is a mechanism for settlement of disputes, because we expect this to happen. You know, when you are trading, when you are crossing borders, there's different customs union, there's different legislative frameworks. But one of the other processes that must happen, and that is going to, countries must work on, is really to begin to harmonize systems. Now, we have groups of countries that have the same legal and policy frameworks, but it is important that there are agreed mechanisms, and that's why there's even continued work on modalities that is going to be negotiated post this signature of yesterday. Now, Are we going to have, is this going to be hunky-dory from the first week of implementation? Of course not. It's going to be a process, but progressively we are going to improve, and the intention is to create a single customs union on the continent. So there's a lot of discussion, including of how do we trade, what do we do with the different currencies, can we create a single platform where we can, so there's a lot of discussion that is going on the questions of modalities to ensure that we remove both tariff and non-tariff barriers. How
does Kenya reassert her position in Africa at this time, especially when we've had, you know, not the rosiest relations again still with our neighbors, be it the Northern Corridor debacle with Uganda, Rwanda, never mind the chicken issue with, you know, Tanzania and the cows, never mind Migingo still happening. Is Kenya in a position still to be the leader in the region in this new common market dispensation?
And Kenya's leadership has been much sought after, and is still being sought after. In fact, I have had, you know, there are some discussions with people saying, you know, people are going to, only very few people were going to sign until President Uhuru arrived, and there was, you know, there's all these kind of stories doing their rounds. But the demand for our leadership is undisputable, and you will know, since he came into power in 2013, President Uhuru has spoken, very consistently on the question of integration, very consistently on the question of growing trade across the region and the African continent. So we have no problem. Our CAS is in New Delhi on a mini ministerial on WTO, again talking about trade facilitation and international trading systems. Our PS led the delegation into Kigali for the final negotiation of the CFTA. My other PS is in New York dealing with multilateral issues. So really our leadership is undisputed, and I think it is going to continue to grow.
We just have about a minute, CS, but I want to just get real quick answers to the following. Where are we on Migingo? And when will Uganda know that this is Kenyan territory?
Well, on Migingo, we have, like many other borders, we have joint border commissions, and they keep talking a number of technical things, including defining the latitudes and the boundaries, you know, so that everybody understands what is where. But fundamentally, there is a matter around how do we manage and share transnational resources, in this case like Victoria. So there's a whole work that is going on around the modalities of sharing transboundary resources.
To those who say we've heard this before, we want to see our territory defended, how do you respond?
Our territorial integrity is not under threat.
Even with Ugandan troops on Kenyan soil?
Even with Ugandan troops. If I have not heard of any Ugandan troops on Kenyan soil, by the way, well, that is an infraction, and whenever that happens, we protest. You know, it is not acceptable, and one of the mandate of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the mandate of the Ministry of Defense, is to protect the territorial integrity of this country, and we take that seriously.
What will it take to thaw relations with Tanzania?
The relationships with Tanzania are good. We have had unfortunate incidences. But these are being mediated. In the next 1 week, we are going to have a big delegation from Tanzania to actually speak about bilateral trade issues with us. So we'll keep talking and create confidence in order that we can grow the prosperity of our region together.
South Africa visa processing.
That we've made some progress. We have worked on the student visas, and now students don't have to come back to renew their visas. They can do it out of South Africa. We have worked on the business visas, and we are continuing progressively to improve the discussions around visas, and we are confident that this is going to work.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you very much.
And we're taking a short break. We're back with more after this. Stay with us on Citizen Live at 9.